It is normal for children to go around exploring as they develop their physical as well as their cognitive skills. But it can also expose these youngsters to different illnesses. These include the common cold, asthma, or even a fever. Today on the program, we'll talk about common childhood illnesses and how to maintain a healthy environment for our kids as they get older. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and welcome to MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines. Joining us for this episode is Dr. Catherine Onghan-Sing. She's a pediatrician from the Los Santos Medical Center and the head of the Breastfeeding Committee. We're also joined by Dr. Kathrina Flor Carigma. She's a family medicine specialist from the Asian Hospital and Medical Center. So our guests are here today to give insights on childhood illnesses. So thank you very much for joining us on the program. Now, the immune system, as most people know, protects your child from invaders such as pathogens, germs, viruses, fungi, as well as some toxins for that matter. Now, we'll start the discussion with Dr. K. When it comes to the immune system, lalo na kung bata, we always hear about how extreme ages, the really young and the really old, are somewhat immunocompromised. But when it comes to an age, anong age ba talaga na hindi pa develop? When can parents more or less feel that, at what age can most parents feel na maganda ng immune system, buo na ang immune system sa isang bata?
So generally for age, there's no exact number naman based on studies. However, generally around 6 years old, you can more or less feel, okay, this kid is more or less, has been exposed previously to the fungi, the bacteria, the viruses that you've mentioned. Their immune system is more mature or experienced to combat these infections because they're a little bit older.
But there is also a belief that children have this weaker immune system than adults, whereas adults' immunity does decline as they get older. Can you share some of your insights about this naman, Dr. K?
We have to go back to how the immune system works, right? So the immune system works by, once you are exposed to a particular pathogen, bacteria, or virus, that's the time when your body can react to it and make the antibodies to protect itself. So in that concept, when you are younger, when you're a baby, when you're very young, you have not been exposed yet. So that is why you are more prone to develop the infections and the symptoms because you have not yet mounted a protection against these infections.
Now let's talk about some of the more common illnesses dito sa Pilipinas and where our children are more exposed to because they can range anywhere from the common cold to even chicken pox. Now, Doc Katz, pag-usapan naman natin yun, some of the more common things that our children are exposed to, lalo na mga Filipino children, and let's talk about some of the symptoms. There are many, but some of the more common ones, pag-usapan natin, lalo na ngayon sa balita, chicken pox. Ang chicken pox ba, Dr. Katz, pareho ba ng monkeypox?
No, it's a different causative agent, so magkaiba siya. Monkeypox and chickenpox. Chickenpox is usually seen during the dry season. So we have 2 seasons, right? Dry and wet season. But the monkeypox is different. It came from other parts of the world. Chickenpox is usual for dry season and usually contagious dun sa mga usually magkakalaro, magkakapatid. Pag dry season, mas dumadami siya.
Now let's talk about another common illness with children here in the Philippines, and that is pneumonia. Please talk about that, Dr. Katz. Paano ba nagkaka-pneumonia ang mga bata madalas dito sa Pilipinas?
Usually, pneumonia comes from if ever the kid or the person is exposed to a pathogen like bacteria or virus and mahina yung immune system natin. That's why it doesn't mean na pawisan, magkaka-pneumonia. Ang causative agent palagi ng pneumonia is either bacteria or virus.
When it comes to pneumonia, is this similar sa isang batang nagkaroon ng trangkaso? Eventually, magkakaroon ba ng pneumonia? Pag sinabing may trangkaso ang bata, papunta rin ba ito sa pneumonia?
First is you have to parang identify what is the cause ba of trangkaso or what we call as the flu. So the flu is caused by the influenza virus. And generally, the symptoms for this would be more or less similar, right, to what children with pneumonia might experience. So they may have fever, cough, colds, However, with flu, sometimes because it's a viral infection, more prominent as well would be weakness, body pains, they might have a loss of appetite. And then generally, a child with flu does not necessarily mean that they'll develop pneumonia. But there are conditions wherein we say that there can be bacterial superinfection as well, wherein because they have the flu, their immune system is weaker because they're sick, they can be more prone to develop bacterial infections on top of what they already have, which is the flu infection.
Now, pag-usapan natin another illness that is common among Filipino children here is asthma. Now, Dr. K, pag-usapan natin a little bit. Ang batang may asthma, habang bata pa siya, younger than 6-year-old, can they outgrow that?
For asthma naman, because it's basically an allergic condition, right? It means that because your family members, your father, your mother, or someone in your family has asthma before, so you have a tendency to have asthma as well. Now, asthma and these allergic conditions are lifelong. It means that there is no treatment to really forever cure you of the disease. But yes, in fact, some asthma may be more active while you were younger, and then when you get older, it may undergo a period of quiescence. Parang it's not as active, but your risk is still there. Like when you get older, especially if you have an infection where you're immune or you're exposed to triggers, it can get reactivated. So periodic reevaluation is still important.
Okay, so later we'll talk about the severe complications that can cause serious damage to your child's health. We're your connection to better health. This is MedTalk Health Talk. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez and welcome back to MedTalk Health Talk. While many illnesses experienced during childhood are basically normal, there are some illnesses that have somewhat more damaging effects on their health and can be detrimental in the long run if left untreated or mismanaged. Now, Dr. Katz, let's talk about diabetes. Diabetes is very prevalent here in the Philippines, but it's normally associated with adults, especially type 2 diabetes. Dr. Katz, how prevalent now among Filipino children is the risk of developing diabetes?
We have two types of diabetes. Type 1, which is insulin-dependent diabetes, and type 2, the non-insulin-dependent, previously known as that. So, but now, because also of the prevalence of the type 2 diabetes with parents, the kids are also at high risk for developing type 1 diabetes because mostly it's also genetically predominant or the high risk factors if one or both parents have that. And then the type 1 diabetes usually affects our Filipino children.
I'd like to talk a little bit about the social aspect of this because a lot of children with the parents natutuwa ang magulang kapag malusog ang bata, mataba, bilog. And they have a tendency to give them anything they want to eat because their mentality is bata pa naman yan, okay pang pakainin yan. Are there any studies, any proof that the habits acquired by a child at an early age, especially eating habits, can be lifelong? Ibig sabihin, can a child who is overweight as a child, is there a correlation for them being overweight as adults as well?
Katulad kami sa Philippine Academy of Family Physicians, we really advocate that the habits would really start at home. And we should live by example always, especially with the parents. So just like us developing the waist-to-hip ratio, the predictability sa adult, kumbaga, kung malaki yung waist mo, yung pwede kang magkaroon ng diabetes, parang mataas yung risk mo. Sa bata, ganun din. Obesity for them, lalo na yung mga eating habits nila, kung hindi nutritious, pwedeng pagtanda nila ng konti or yung medyo mga teenagers sila, magkakaroon na sila ng high cholesterol levels, high sugar levels, and pwede na rin magkaroon ng hypertension.
And of course, we're still in the middle of a pandemic. And according to Save the Children Philippines, while children may not belong to the high-risk groups, and most Filipino children infected with COVID-19 remain to be, for the majority of cases, mild, we still need to protect them from COVID-19. Doc K, let's talk about that. COVID-19 now and children. What's the current situation? How delicado is COVID-19 with Filipino children now?
Thankfully, COVID infection remains to be less serious or less severe as compared to adults. However, we have been witnessing, or in my clinic at least, I have been seeing a lot of cases of COVID infection. Basically, you have to remember how do these kids get COVID infection is still mainly from exposure from their family members. So the message there is the adults in the family has to make sure that they are protecting themselves from acquiring the infection through the ways that we already now very well understand. Hand washing, wearing a mask properly, social distancing, so that you don't take this disease at home and pass it to your children.
Now, Dr. K, let's remind our viewers again, how young can children get the vaccine for COVID-19?
Right now, we are very thankful that the COVID vaccine is available already for children as young as 5 years old. So we are promoting this very well so that they are protected against the infection.
Now let's talk about another aspect of children, and that is breastfeeding. Dr. Katz, we always hear that notion that breast milk is talagang the best option for babies. Aside from the economics of it, because the mother is able to produce that milk, what other benefits does breast milk have from any other form of milk?
The mother can pass on her immunity or immunoglobulins to the kids. No? It strengthens the immune system, the nutrients and the immunity that the mother has, na-share niya rin doon sa anak niya. So not only the bond, but also the other aspects of nutrition, strengthening the immune system, and then giving the proper love and care being given through breastfeeding.
Now, I'd like to ask Dr. K, for those, hindi naman lahat ng moms are able to breastfeed their child easily. There are a lot of challenges. Let's talk about that.
First is not incomplete or improper guidance. So, because our culture already, there are less moms who are already breastfeeding. We grew up not knowing particularly how to do it. It is still a skill. So, number one is seek consult so that we can guide you on how to properly breastfeed your kids so that we can maximize your potential in producing milk for your babies. So there are many milk available, such as from donor milk from mothers who are blessed with more milk and they are able to donate milk. Those are available in our milk tanks, available for babies so that they can get the benefits of breast milk even if their parents cannot provide it 100%. Other options also are, of course, milk formula will still remain as a good option if after exhausting everything, breast milk is not 100% available.
Dr. K, as a follow-up there, how can mothers who are having trouble breastfeeding, how can they get this information? May bayad ba ito? What are some of the programs available?
There are free outlets out there that help mothers get the information that they need on how they can breastfeed. For example, in Facebook, there are so many online groups that are available. You just look it up, and I'm even part of a lot of them that give free information and give you the benefit of other mothers sharing their experiences on how they were able to overcome their challenges for breastfeeding. Next is, of course, us who are professionals who are trained to help mothers achieve an optimal breastfeeding experience. We are lactation consultants, and we are available for consultation, although, of course, it comes with a fee, so that we can guide the families on how to best breastfeed their kids.
Now, illnesses are normal to experience while growing up. We all know that. And maintaining a child's health is also key in making sure they grow up well. More on this when we return. This is MedTalk Health Talk. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and welcome back to MedTalk Health Talk. It's essential for every parent to do their best to keep their child healthy. Now, a key element to this is making sure they take the right nutrition in order to develop properly. Dr. Katz, pag-usapan naman natin ngayon nutrition na dapat para sa bata. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but let's dive into it a little bit more because we've all heard of the food pyramid. How important is this as a nutrition guide for children?
It's very important na makita natin yung food pyramid. Lalo, depende rin kasi yan kung ano yung age ng bata. But yun yung guide natin for us to know what to give our kids. Example, for younger kids, masyado silang hyper, diba? Masyado silang, they need energy. So we give whole grain food as source of carbohydrates. And then for elderly kids, nasasanay na sila minsan na kumain ng mga salty food, mga junk food. So kailangan mag-offer tayo, and we have to make, we as parents and in the family, we offer healthy foods na kaya nilang kainin and parang similar doon sa taste nila. So, depending on the age group, lahat yon kailangan may health benefits sa mga bata. Kailangan kung ano yung need nila at the time of their growth.
Now let's talk about water, and specifically dehydration. Dr. Katz, is dehydration in a child the same as an adult who is getting dehydrated?
Usually, our children are prone to dehydration. A child can develop dehydration even just for 3 bouts of loose bowel movement or vomiting. So, a child is more prone to dehydration than the normal adult.
Now, Dr. K, what exactly should parents be looking for when choosing food supplements, multivitamins for their kids? Mahilig ito yung mga nasa number 1 sa mga shopping list ng maraming mga parents. What's your take on this? What should the mindset be of parents when it comes to supplements and multivitamins?
Multivitamins and supplements are not necessary for most healthy children. Food, making sure that it's adequate and healthy, is still the best source of nutrients for these kids. So there are some kids who may benefit from multivitamins, however. For example, those who are exhibiting growth delays, they're smaller, they're thinner than their counterparts, or those who are, of course, picky eaters. They have very restrictive diets. So in order to ensure that we're giving enough of the nutrients, they might benefit from giving multivitamins.
Now, Dr. Katz, I would like to talk to you about exercise and sleep. Now, we all know as adults, kailangan talaga ng balance of exercise, good amounts of sleep. But for children, lalo na yung mga batang hindi outdoorsy, kumbaga, no? They like to study indoors, they like to read books. Physical exercise really isn't their cup of tea. How could we help the parents give them that much-needed physical activity, kumbaga?
Usually, we tell the parents to give their children schedules, like the amount of time through gadgets, and then you close the gadgets, this time in eating, and then we encourage some physical activity sa bahay lang, kung ano yung gusto nila, to encourage them. But scheduling of activities is very good for these kids. Lalo na kasi yung attention span nila minsan, maiksi lang. So, may kita nila, okay, at this time, kailangan pala ganito na. At this time, kailangan tumayo na ako and I'll do some running in place or dancing or some simple exercises for them.
With that in mind, thank you very much, Dr. Catherine Onghan-Sing and Dr. Kathrina Flor Carigma for being with us today and sharing your expertise about childhood illnesses. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and thank you for watching Med Talk Health Talk. We'll see you again next time.